All right, well, I'm trying to tidy up some of the wiring stuff back here. So I've got the oil pressure switch wired. I had the coil wired, which I still got the wire run up there, and I got the little fork spade on there. The nuts are loose though because I removed. This distributor came with a harness on it, and it's too long. It's all wadded up behind the engine, and I don't like it. So this particular harness, it has 3 wires going into this connector, and it had a pink wire going through that you basically would have had to spade connect for the coil wire. So what I had done before is just cut it out, and now what I've decided to do is go ahead and trim this down and then basically redo it, make it shorter to make it look better, because it's just too long, it's too bulky, and it's got a pink wire up inside there, and that just ain't gonna work. So I unplugged this, and I noticed, look how bad these connections are down there. Kind of corroded looking. So I'm gonna clean these out, and I've got some tip cleaners for a welder. So I'm gonna use those and clean that up a little bit, and then I'm gonna put a whole bunch of dielectric grease in there to keep it from, not getting a good connection, because these are just nasty, man. So I think what I'm going to do is use some of that weave style loom on this, but I'm going to trim this down quite a bit and just put 2 new connectors on the end of it. But this thing is, this tubing they've got on here is really, really stiff, and look at that, I bend that and it goes right back. So it's kind of bunched up back there and it looks terrible, so I'm going to shorten this. Should be pretty cool. All right, guys, I've done a little detail on one thing here. What it is a sticker, and I'm usually not a fan of putting stickers on my cars unless they're going to be styled toward like an older build, like a streetcar build, like in the 70s and 80s. People always had stickers on the windows. I am going to do that 2-door post that Randy gave me. However, like on my hardtop, I don't have any stickers on it. It's sticker free, and I like that. It just kind of depends on the build. But if I do use a sticker, I like to use it sparingly. I don't want to put 20 of the same sticker on here. So I've got 2 of these left over, and they're stickers, and it's basically the crest for that'll be on the hood and the trunk of a 55 Chevy. So these are the block-off panels I made. If you didn't catch the video, Steve's car, the previous shop didn't weld these up, and there were pretty choppy squares cut out of here. So I went in and I made some block-off panels with a hidden fastener on the back, and it has a plate, and basically you bolt it on, and it blocks off that hole, because I can't do any bodywork and paint because this car's already painted. So I went ahead and I put that decal on there. For one, it actually fits. It's not longer than that, but I think it looks really classy in that door jamb, and it just kind of helps out that block off panel, I think. So what do you guys think? I think it looks great. Some people may not like it, but it really boils down to whether Steve likes it. I took a picture of it and I sent it to him in a text, and he hasn't responded yet. He's probably on the road. He drives a truck, but I want to see if he likes that. If he does like it, I'm going to go ahead and put one on the other side. But I have 2 leftovers, and I thought I'd just donate them to the car because I think it's fitting for it. I think it looks pretty nice. But anyway, I'm still doing wiring on the car. I haven't done anything in the last several days. We've had a lot of rain. It rained pretty much for 3 days straight, and we've had flooding and all kinds of stuff. So I haven't done anything. I couldn't even work on my Monte Carlo. So it's just been raining too hard for that. And when it rains, I can't move my car out to work on Steve's car, because I have to obviously open the door on his car, and I can't open it when both of them cars are in here. And I'm not pulling my car out in the rain. I'm not going to do it. I don't even wash that car with water. So anyway, I'm back on it today, just kind of working my way around. I did a little bit of wiring on a harness for the coil and stuff, and got that all buttoned up and looks really nice. Now I need to move on to the starter. I need to talk about the speaker covers. Now let's do that. All right, so Steve has bought some Kicker 6x9 speakers, 3-ways. These are pretty nice units, same ones I have in my car. They're not overly priced, I don't think, for a Kicker. But you know, speakers are kind of mild to wild. But anyway, I think they're a pretty good buy for the money. Anyway, he bought these speaker grills, and I think he got them from Summit. I don't know the brand name of these. It's a plain white box, but anyway, it's metal. It's chrome plated metal, but I think they look really, really classy. And the reason, to me, on a 50s car, this looks 50s to me. This does not. However, you know, most cars, you know, they're modernized a little bit, and the style that he's kind of going after on this car with the ride height and the white letters and the Kragers and all that kind of stuff, you know, it's kind of, you know, early 80s to him. That's what he saw in high school. So this kind of doing high school theme, in my opinion. But to me, that just kind of is more fitting to the car than these. These are too modern for this car, I think. You know, the back window in a 55 Chevy is very large, and you're going to see that. So anyway, I would much rather see that music note grill back here than those kickers. So anyway, he has to, I'm not doing the upholstery on the car. I don't know who's doing it. I don't know how that's going to go down. And I don't know how long it's going to be before he does upholstery. But anyway, so this will have a covered package tray back here, obviously probably in vinyl. And so these speakers will have to be undone, because I'm going to go ahead and install them with the grills. And then when this package tray is made and installed, it'll have to be undone and then put back in. So if I had the material here, I could do the package tray for him. You know, I'd have to get some wood and some foam and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, the upholstery shop can do that, whoever he takes it to. I just don't know. But anyway, he had stated that on these, when I pulled them out of the package when he brought them, that he was thinking of five, like 2 5s here, just the numbers like stickers for 55 on here. I think that's a good idea. I think it'd be kind of nice, kind of a nice detail. I actually have a thought that, you know, these kicker badges right here, they're like glued on from the back, but that could be taken off there and then shaved down on the back to get those 2 tabs shaved off. And then these could be epoxied right in the middle of that, actually. So, you know, they'd say kicker right there in the music note. I'm the guy that I don't like to go overboard. Like somebody, you know, you could take the kicker badge and put it right here, or even up here on this, you know, flat part here on the top or bottom, and then put 55 in here. But to me, at that point, it's too overdone. So, you know, things get overdone pretty easy. If you pay attention to a lot of cars at car shows, some people tend to go a little overboard with stuff. Well, I didn't video that wiring harness after I shortened it and put on the weave sleeving, but anyway, it looks better now. It's not all jumbled up back there. I did zip tie on the pink wire with 2 little small zip ties just to hold them together. The ground I did not shorten. I kind of brought it around the other side and went to this bolt here. I kind of don't really know what to do with that stupid ground wire. If this was, you know, later GM heads, they'd have holes in the back of the cylinder head, and I could put the eyelet on the back of the head and it could be completely out of sight. But I'm just kind of limited here on that deal. Alright, I gave it a light blast. These always corrode really bad on this raised part, but I mean, they kind of corrode a little bit everywhere, but I've always seen them, seems like right here they corrode pretty bad. But I'm going to put a paint on here to keep it from doing that. So now I need to dig my brush out and brush the inside of that, where that bulb goes in there, clean that up a little bit. So I don't have any more chrome spray paint. I went in my house and I got in my little cabinet in there. I used to customize Hot Wheel cars for a long time, for several years. Drill the rivets, heads off the bottom, take them apart, strip the paint, you know, repaint them and all that kind of stuff, lower them, change wheels, do all kinds of stuff. It's just something I like to do, mainly in the winter time. Boy, that one bled out on me. That was brand new. But anyway, I've got quite the collection of the old school spray paints, and I've even got some that I don't even think they make anymore. But anyway, what I did is I took the lid. I was looking for chrome in there. I thought I had a tester's chrome, but I don't. So this is what I used on his taillight, but it was spitting and sputtering, getting everywhere. So I went ahead and took the cap off, and I put it in reducer, you know, lacquer thinner or acetone, and just melt the crap out of that nozzle. So I've got it in reducer, trying to clean that up. Anyway, there's a little bit left in here, and I'm hoping that I can get it to spray enough to do the inserts on this, and also these two gaskets. So I used a rag with some prep all on it, basically wax and grease remover, and I wiped these down real good so the paint will actually stick to them a little bit. But I haven't cleaned this yet because I got to wire brush it. That's what I'm gonna do now. So you can see on his taillight bezels, no doubt these are brand new, but if you can see that in the light, they're starting to corrode, you know, get some corrosion on them. And I'm going to go in and clean these up a little bit. I use, after I wash these first to get all the dust and dirt and crap that's stuck to them, you always want to clean this stuff first and make sure it's dust free. Then I'll go in with 4/0 steel wool, and I'll put Mother's Magnet aluminum polishing on it, and I will lightly go over these. And the 4/0 steel wool doesn't hurt chrome. Now if you really bear down and really rub the crap out of them, it will scuff the chrome, but in this case this is not very bad, but it'll clean these up and these will look new again. And then these lower trim rings, I mean, they're kind of shiny, but they're not polished. So I'll be buffing these on my buffing wheel. It's basically just another area of restoration that needs to be done. This is on the exterior of the car. This is where, no matter where that car's sitting, there's going to be eyes on it. You know, like in a parking lot or at a show or at his work parking lot or driving down the road or somebody pulling up behind him at a stop sign or a stoplight. So this stuff here, it needs to be top notch. This is visible, the outside stuff. All right guys, this is my Dremel wire brush or wire wheel. And when you get I get them at Walmart, they're not very expensive, but it's just a round, like a wire wheel that you'd put in your drill. But once you use it like I do, it makes it look like that. But it still works. I think it's stainless steel, but it works pretty good on cleaning this up. It's just going to help get a good connection. It almost kind of polishes that in there, if you can see that. So it should get a connection off the bulb socket pretty good. Right now I'm going to take another wire brush and I'm going to try to get up in this little cutout on both sides for that bulb, because that is part of a connection as well. And if you have a bad connection, like you have a bulb that goes off and on, you know, or you have to hit the back of your car, you can find a socket, like a 12-point socket, that will fit over the brass part, but, you know, go up to the shoulder right here and stop. Set it on the ground like that. Take another socket that is this diameter of this folded over part of the metal down in here. Stick that socket, like a deep well socket, on that. Hold it like that, and then hit it with a hammer, and it'll tighten this connection. Now, these, I mean, sometimes they turn real easy. And if they turn, they usually are going to need to be tightened up. If, as a last resort, you're still having a problem, you can basically take like little bitty tiny jeweler's screws and drill a hole and put a screw right through this flanged part right here into the socket, or into the housing, I mean, You can even put it on the outside as long as the head hits that, and it'll help further ground this. This is your ground. So I had my left rear tail light. I was actually showing Steve the LEDs on my car, and I turned my tail lights on and the left socket didn't come on. So anyway, I hit the side of the car and the light came on. So thank goodness for watching Happy Days when I was a kid. But anyway, I ended up pulling this all back apart about a month ago and rehammered that connection and stuff and put it all back together, and now it works. So anyway, just lots of little tedious little restoration stuff on this stuff. So I was trying to find an original taillight housing that's, you know, corroded and turned gray and all that kind of stuff. I was basically going to hot wire a bulb in it and turn the lights out in the garage with the door down and show the difference in brightness, but I do not have one out here in the garage, and I don't want to go out to the shed and dig around. I'd have to pull a bunch of stuff out. But it's funny, when I look through here, this is a lot of stuff from the 2-door and 4-door posts that Randy gave me. And the 2-door post is a 210 model, which takes this style of armrest. And you know, when you have to buy the pieces or these pads or whatever, they're pretty expensive. And there is a left and a right by the way they're shaped. And I had a pair for that car, but one of them I was missing the pad. So, and the stainless trim is the same for either one, the left or the right. So anyway, I had that armrest, and then I have this one that's missing the pad. And when I was at Perky's with my friend Scott, this armrest was laying on a 56, and it's actually in pretty decent shape. It's a little dirty. I didn't know what side I needed. I just went ahead and bought it, and it is the one I needed. So that was a score right there. So really, really happy about that. Totally unrelated to Steve's car, but I thought that was interesting. All right, so what I went ahead and did was wipe this down, cleaned it up real good, and after I blasted it, and I went in there and shot chrome, and I just kind of let it overspray on everything because I'm going to go back and mask off, you know, the individual spots and then paint the outer. So I need to go over there and find a gray color that kind of looks like cast to put on it. It's just to protect it and prolong its life. But anyway, that chrome spray paint is it's popping and spewing, and it was all over my hand. I'm out of rubber gloves, so I'm gonna have to get some of those, and those things have gotten expensive. All right, guys, so I blasted this thing and wire wheeled it down in there and cleaned it up. And this is how you would test to make sure your socket's grounded. I've got my meter turned on squawk to where it beeps at you. So you would take your terminals, touch them together, and it's working. So the brass part here, you would put it to that, and then you'd put it to this metal socket. This is not grounding. It's supposed to be grounding. If I put it on the brass part, it does it. It's not working. So I'm gonna have to try to twist this socket to clean the corrosion in here, and I may have to end up putting a screw in it. Just gonna have to mess with it. Okay, so what I did was I took my spring punch for marking holes before you drill it. And if you've never had one of these are too inexpensive not to have. If you're going to drill a hole in steel, you basically push this down and it'll snap, and it'll basically pop a indent in the metal for your drill bit to go on to, so your drill bit doesn't walk. So this socket is pressed onto here. So what I did, it wouldn't turn. I tried turning it by hand, it won't turn. So I'm pretty sure there's probably a bunch of corrosion in there separated. So I took the spring punch and I just punched all the way around this, like this, all the way around. So there's probably about 10 of them in there. And now I'll put the meter on squawk, and I've got a connection. So be sure and check that before you put this all in your car. Put your taillight lens on and all that stuff. Test these before you put them in your car. So that's pretty awesome. All right, so I have a couple of these pigtails extra. So I went in the house and got them. And I've got the bulb in here. And I dug one out. It's actually for my wife's 55. I dug it out and I put another electrical connector in there and a bulb. I'm going to do a brightness test. I mean, you can kind of see the dark gray to the chrome. I mean, this is obviously going to be brighter, but I'm going to show you anyway. So with a power probe, or if you want to bench test this to a battery, which I highly recommend making sure both of them work before you put it all together in the car, you basically ground your housing, as you just seen by me having to spring punch that. This has to be, the housing has to be grounded, so I put my little ground stub off the power probe on there. If you were just doing a battery, put you an alligator clip on the negative side of the battery and put it directly to the housing. So then, one at a time, you would test these two wires. One's for tail light, brake light, and one's for tail light. So you're gonna have a bright one and a dull, or a dim one. So that's obviously the tail light because it's pretty dim. And this is the brake light, which is pretty bright. I don't know if you can, I don't know how well you can see that. Tail light, brake light. My hand's in the way now. Nice. All right, brake light, tail light. So now I'm going to test this one, make sure it works, because I may have to spring punch it. I think I blasted these already for my wife's car. Looks like it. Yeah, this one's already blasted. I guess I went in and knocked the seal out of it after I blasted it, so this will need to be blasted again. It's got a dinger right there. Steve's car, somebody had already put a new rubber seal in there, so that's pretty nice. I'm going to mask that off with some fine line tape before I paint that housing. Anyway, now I need to test this dude, make sure. I guess I can go ahead and turn my, well, I guess I better test that first. I think I already tested this, didn't I? Yeah, it's working. Okay. So I got it grounded on the power probe. That's brake light. That's tail light. Okay. So now I'm going to set the lenses on there. I'm going to close the garage door and turn the lights out and show you the difference in brightness. It's not a bunch, it's just a little bit brighter. And if you're into, you know, being safe, that's always a good thing to do. All right, guys, so I'm out in the garage. I got the lights out. I've got two tail lights. I've got the lenses kind of screwed on there. So the tail light on the left is going to be, it's just a raw blasted pot metal. The one on the right is for Steve's car, and I've already painted the chrome spray paint inside of it for a little bit more reflection. So what I'm going to do, I've got these teed together on wires, and I've got my power probe hooked up, and that's the light you see is the headlights on my power probe here. And then I got a flashlight to help guide me around in here so I don't trip on nothing. But anyway, I'm going to put some power to the tail light, and then I'll put power to the brake light. And anyway, just kind of look and see if you notice how much brighter they are. From the one on the left is bare. The one on the right is chrome spray painted on the inside. So is that a noticeable difference? I don't even know if the camera's picking it up that well. And it may look different in the camera than it does in person. I can tell by looking, the one on the right is really bright, and the one on the left is not as bright. And the only difference is the one on the right is spray painted chrome. Alright, so I used cast iron gray because it's pretty much the only dark gray I had on that housing. But that'll keep it from rusting. And this is Duplicolor engine enamel, which I've had good luck for using it over bare metal. So anyway, it's bench tested. I did have to modify it to get it to ground the housing, but it now works. So although I didn't check that backup light, I guess I better do that before I put it in there. But Chuck. Alright, so I got all the dust and dirt and all that on there. So, when you look at that, trying to get the light on it, if you can see that, that's corrosion is trying to start. If these were left this way, they would get a lot worse and get heavier pitted. So, at this point, I'll take the mothers. And I've got a brand new piece of 4/0 steel wool that was still in the bag, so it hasn't been left out and got contaminated with dust and dirt. And I'm going to put some of that on the steel wool like that. This one's still kind of wet, hasn't dried yet. So I'm going to go in here very light and just kind of work it a little bit. I'm not putting hardly any pressure at all on this. The harder you bear down, the worse it'll get for scratching and hazing. This works really good on originals that are, you know, they're pretty pitted. You can go in and do this job and it'll clean them up pretty good. That old chrome will come back. It'll still have pits in it, but it'll look a lot better. I do this with my instrument cluster housings and the heater face housings, you know, the clock bezel, all that stuff. Headlight bezels, turn signal housings. This works really, really good. This just the big deal about it is just don't bear down on it and really scrub on it. And do not just go right into this. You need to wash it first to at least get all the debris off of it. That way you don't grind it into it and, you know, mess it up. You can kind of hear it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. I doubt it, but I can kind of hear it as I'm working it. So you'll hear something at first, and then on your second or third swipe, you don't hear it. So at that point, you kind of know you got it. Got a super soft polishing microfiber here. Just going to work a spot here and see what. And I need to work on it a little bit more. Basically, if you put new bezels and stuff or have your old stuff re-chromed, when you're waxing your car, you need to wax your chrome as well. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and there's no scratches, nothing in there. There's a little bit of corrosion still in this corner, right up in here. I don't know. I'm trying to turn it so you can see it. So I'm gonna go back and work on it some more. I'm actually just going to go ahead and go over the whole thing again. That Mother's Mag aluminum polish is really a great product for not just chrome and aluminum. I mean, it's really for you know, mags, aluminum, alloy and stuff. So obviously, you know, they're not going to say it's chrome polish, so that's why I said don't bear down on it. But if you're restoring plastic, like I've used it on G-body plastics like tail lights, turn signal lenses and stuff on a G-body, even the instrument cluster lens on a G-body, that stuff will make that plastic look brand new. And it works great on Tri-5s too, on the plastic knobs, on stuff like the Calvent pull knobs, that type of stuff. But it has many, many uses, really. Oh yeah, I got it that time. So these are going to look brand spanking new, like right out of the package. So Steve's car, he has a metal shop with a concrete floor that the car will be stored in, but it's not insulated, and it actually has areas that you know, like there's holes and stuff so critters can get in there, which is not going to be good for a car to be stored in there. You know, mice will get in there and chew up the wiring and that type of stuff, but you know, the moisture is what will cause a lot of these problems. So if you're going to restore a car and you do wash it with a garden hose or whatever, or pressure washer, whatever, if you put water to it, be sure and use a leaf blower or compressed air afterwards and try to blow out all the nooks and crannies of it so the water doesn't set in places. Anyway, that looks good, man. It looks really, really nice. I mean, I see a few little speckles here and there, but I'm not going to go in and go crazy with it. It looks really, really nice. So there's if that's showing up, that's before and after. So now I got to do the other one. There's no need for you guys to watch that all over again. Alright, so I used a little Mothers on a microfiber rag and went over just the outside of this lens, and it looks amazing. It's got a little crack right there, and it seemed like I've seen another one. They're small, you know, you don't really notice them as much. But that looks amazing compared to this one. So all that I've done to this one was wipe it off with the Windex paper towel. So that is really, really dull. It still looks nice, but there's no comparison on these two, man. Get them side by side there. I don't know what it's looking like in the camera, but this one's dull and this one's like super glossy, like I clear coated it. Now don't use 4/0 steel wool on that. I mean, you can if you got some scratches, like some fine scratches that you can rub one way with that 4/0 steel wool with Mothers on it. Rub it run one way and it will take the, you know, some of the scratches out. But these are new, they're just old and they've dulled out, so all I did was use microfiber rag with some Mothers on it and wiped it one direction with the lines. But that looks good, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this other one, and I'm hoping, you know what, I guess I need to go ahead and text him. I'll go in there and look on Amazon. Look how cracked that one is, man. These are terrible. And this is what happens when you don't paint those plates that screw onto these to hold these in the housing. When they get wet, the rust gets on the lens, and if these are real nice and clear, you're gonna be able to see that. So see if I can show one of them brackets there. They've got a bunch of mix match hardware, so I'm gonna have to go through my stuff and put good hardware in here. That kind of stuff drives me crazy, for that stuff to be mix match like that. Anyway, this is the plate, and it's just steel, and it's most likely it was zinc plated or maybe even bare metal from the factory in '55, and they just rust. So what I'll do is I'll blast these and then I'll paint them, probably just a etching primer black with the spray can, and call it a day. And I'll go through my hardware and see if I got some stainless steel, and I'll replace this rusty old piece of crap. If I don't have any in stainless, I'll blast this too, and then I'll just spray paint it as well, but it'll keep it from rusting and transferring to that lens. But when these go in that housing, this is the bottom with them two slots. and that plate holds down like that little bracket. So yeah, you know, the hole's offset, and off the top of my head I can't remember if it's the offset goes up or if it goes down. I'll just have to wait until I get to put it on the car, and then I'll figure it out. But you'll be able to do the same thing. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get on Amazon and see if I can find some of these on there and have him just go ahead and get that. This is terrible. I don't want to, you know, put those in the car. I mean, let's face it, man, the car's gonna look like $1 million bucks, and these are just gonna kill it. Those are completely fogged out. They were new at one time, you can tell, but you know, they're already used up. And they're so cheap, you can afford to, you know, replace those after several years. All right, guys, I was going to install the taillight stuff that I've got restored, but I obviously can't put the lenses in it. I went ahead and texted Steve. I found them backup lenses on Amazon, so I'm going to see if he'll grab a pair of them. The taillight lenses, I got them all polished out. I buffed both of them, just polished them with a microfiber with some others, and they look brand new again. So the taillight lenses themselves will work. I also polished both dividers. These are stainless steel, so you can sand and polish these. So I got those all done. The problem I have is they have mix match hardware in here. I remember when I took it apart that the screws are just whatever they could grab out of a bin. It is very inexpensive to buy the hardware and clip set for these taillights, which I'm not going to have Steve buy all that stuff. I've probably got the correct clips in my slide trays over here. This is like a universal clip, and they've actually cut the ends off, the fold end on both of them, to get it in there at an angle. These are pretty unique for a 55 Chevy, and anyway, they've actually ground the end at an angle to get it to go in there. And if I remember right, these had number 8s, and I think they're supposed to be 10s if I remember right. But anyway, it's just cheesy, you know. I want to put the correct size hardware and everything in, so I may end up changing these out if I have some originals, which I should have. But I need to go to Lowe's in the morning and get some stainless steel screws. I want this stuff, all the hardware to match. I don't want a bunch of mix match crap in the taillight lenses. They actually had used some stainless steel because some of the hardware was missing out of the wing window stuff for hardtop. These have some pretty specific number 8 fine thread screws with a really skinny flat head on them, and they actually used a couple of those back here on the taillights. So that's why some of it was missing out of the wing window, because they used it back here. That ain't gonna fly here. I'm going to replace it with correct size stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna have to make a run to Lowe's in the morning and get that stuff. The thing about it is I'm gonna need stainless steel hardware, the coarse thread stuff and the fine thread stuff, for the 2-door post project and my wife's 55 4-door. And when I buy that stuff, it'll be in packs. So I'm most likely not going to charge Steve for it, because, you know, I'm not going to subtract like 4 screws out of a pack of 25. You know what I mean? That's unnecessary. But I definitely need to go get them so I can have them. But anyway, I want stainless steel hardware and all this stuff, because when you have a chrome plated taillight bezel, and I know some of you guys have probably noticed this at shows and stuff, or even your own cars, they give you sometimes chrome plated screws or even zinc plated screws, and over time when they get wet they start rusting, especially where the Phillips screwdriver bit goes down into the screw. That will start rusting, and it'll bleed out rust tears like it did on this pot metal right here. You can see where that had water behind it, and it just stained that pot metal from that little bracket being rusty. So I'm gonna put all stainless in it and be done with it. But that is it for today. It's I mean, that's where time goes when I'm out here, man. It just goes, because I get to working on one little bitty thing, and it has to be right when I do it, you know. This car, he's going to be taking it places. People are going to be looking at it. He's going to probably put it in car shows. It has to be nice. It has to be. It's not going to be where the car winds up at another shop 30, 40, 50 years from now. Somebody else tears it down to restore it. They're not going to find a butchered up, hacked up pile of crap when they take it apart. It's going to be put together very well. So it's just, I guess that's the difference in some people. I take too much pride in my work to put mix match hardware and stuff. You know what I mean? Especially as cheap as the hardware is for that. That's silly. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.